Hi everyone, I'm Anthony O'Flynn and I'm going to be giving you a few details of the eclipse that's occurring tomorrow morning Australian time, what to expect, what not to expect. If you don't believe in astrology, that's fine. JP Morgan himself said that millionaires don't believe in astrology, but billionaires do. So the people running the show on this planet are masters of the occult. Occult means hidden, and it's an important theme for the eclipse because basically the eclipse is bringing what is hidden to the surface. So it signifies endings and beginnings, and because it is in Aries, Sun in Aries, Moon in Aries, new moon, and this will be at 19 degrees Aries at 4:21 a.m. Australian Queensland time in Australia. So tomorrow morning, there's a whole lot of advice that you shouldn't actually look into the eclipse because you can go blind. It's said to be bad karmically, all these sorts of things. Most people in Australia are going to be fast asleep, at least I will be. And the eclipse will not pass through the path of totality, will not pass through Australia anyway. It is basically going to occur in the eastern part of the USA. So this will have an intensification of the eclipse energy itself in the USA, particularly Texas. So there may be events that unfold in the next few weeks, even months it can be for an eclipse, particularly with a focus on the US, specifically Texas. So watch this space to see what actually transpires there. Now, there has been a lot of hype, a lot of hysteria. I've seen this with various events across the years, but I've never seen anything quite like this with an eclipse ever before. So this is very unusual in terms of fear porn, and a lot of misunderstandings about what the eclipse energy really is. So there are eclipses every year. It's a season, they occur in pairs. So in this particular eclipse is relevant because of the Aries Libra axis. This is a polarity, obviously, and which is also the basis for tantric yoga. Everything's having a polarity, but the Aries Libra axis is significant in this context for the eclipse because relationships could be affected in both positive and negative ways because of the Libran energy, and there could be a significant indicator of some way of a change in relationship. It sounds a bit vague and foggy, I know, I agree, but the cardinal signs themselves will be influenced the most by this. So that's something to take into consideration. But the eclipse itself, because it's in Aries, which brings with it a whole host of considerations because it is a North Node eclipse. So therefore the focus is on the positive aspect of Aries, which is enthusiasm, the warrior spirit, taking action, the doing, the impulsiveness and the enthusiasm which Aries has. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. The verb for Aries is I am. So it's a fire sign, a cardinal fire sign. So it already has that impulse. And Aries represents the child in astrology. So the verb I am really is the beginning of this journey of self-awareness. So for this reason, the new beginnings with the new moon, with the Aries energy, with the eclipse itself, can intensify the prospect of new beginnings, and with a certain drive, like a certain uncompromising warrior calling, which characterizes the energy of Aries. It is the first impulse. So it means that Aries often does act impulsively without planning and thinking things through. So the enthusiasm of Aries is infectious, it infects a lot of people. And the debate really is then, is because it's in Aries, will that mean there will be some violent activity and so on? Chiron is also in Aries, the wounded healer, which intensifies the possibility of some forms of healing, of kind of revisiting the wound in itself and then going into the healing process, the healing journey, whatever that means to a certain individual. But I still think overall that this eclipse has been hyped up beyond any comparison that I can think of, and the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction later this month is of far greater significance as to what that is going to do, and that's only just a few weeks away as well. So that, stay tuned for that, because that's going to be probably more significant. However, because the symbolism, the esoteric qualities of the eclipse means that by definition the moon is eclipsing the sun, it does have a lot of symbolism related to the shadow and also bringing what is hidden into consciousness, into full view, because this darkness that falls across the land is kind of like it's very much a metaphor for triggering certain revelations, revealing, and possibly intensifying the influence of those in those aspects post-eclipse, which can, as I said, can be weeks and months. So it's difficult to give definitive information as to what this is actually going to do in terms of what will be objective, but it's more an energetic signature than anything. And I do think it's sort of the case of the glass half full, half empty. However, when you take into the positive effects of the Aries energy and you think of the transformation that the USA is necessary to embody moving forward with this, it does imply something of a deconstruction before a reconstruction. And that is going to be, in my view, the big theme of the USA for the entire this decade. I mean, it is an empire in terminal decline. I won't go into it now, but if I was living in the USA, I would definitely be leaving. It is going to be extremely chaotic as what's going to occur there across pre-election, post-election, whatever occurs. It won't make any difference. The financial decline of the US empire, the US dollar, the petrodollar, it is a mathematical certainty. The only thing that's uncertain is the speed in which it will play out and the effects of what will occur as the failing of this fiat currency unfolds. And they are currently borrowing, the US are borrowing $1 trillion every 100 days to finance the debt. It's a staggering amount of money, and there is no way out. The only way out that they're going to do is keep printing until the effects of rapid inflation, possibly even hyperinflation, take hold and destroy all purchasing power. It is a reckless spending, and this is not financial advice, but the demise is a certainty. It is an absolute certainty. And the social chaos that's occurring there already with around the themes of social chaos with the border. There isn't a border there, basically. There isn't a border wall. And something like 12 million illegal immigrants have made their way into the US. Even some of them have been flown in, by the way, in the last year. So I won't go on to those details too much, because those qualities that the US is displaying as far as the social turmoil will only intensify in this decade. You're going to hear a lot more about that. But can the US revive itself? You know, this is the question in the medium to the long term. This is the real energy of the eclipse. Will it be a case of the end of the US empire and the rebirth of something more? Will there be a fragmentation of the union itself? Will there be a colossal collapse before the phoenix flies again, like a renaissance, a reawakening? Because the USA have also embodied some really pioneering spirits of innovation, of enterprise, of liberty, and some of these iconic qualities that the US has had, particularly going back in history. And the question is, what will the spirit of the collective, of the egregore, reignite from this this eclipse? It's really difficult to say. It could be a combination of the two, but my view is very, very pessimistic in terms of the overall well-being index, if you want to look at it like that, across the next decade, simply because they have to go through this process of deconstruction, and maybe the eclipse will help support that. The fear and the fear porn that's really coming out is the fact that, bizarrely, NASA reportedly are launching 3 missiles into the shadow of the eclipse, which is bizarre. And I've seen one report saying that they're releasing them at 322, which is the number of the skull and bones, and then 333, which is the 33 degrees. So what's going on there for the second one? I don't know. I can't even confirm if that's mathematically correct, but why do this on the eclipse and the new moon? It's a ritual. It's a ritual in Aries. It's trying to create this loosh, and these occultists are very skilled adepts at creating this mass hysteria, this sort of panic. The National Guard's been brought out. There's a whole lot of rhetoric around it, particularly in the US, obviously. And they are then try to create this energetic sort of field and then steer it where they want to go. And that's the tricky part. And you only are helping them by buying into all the fear. At the same time, in Switzerland, they're testing the CERN particle accelerator, and this test is also taking place during the eclipse. They know that it's not a great energy, the eclipse, overall. I mean, it's the actual moment of the eclipse. If you think about in medieval times and so on, that the fact that the moon would block out the sun, if you didn't understand the astrological implications and the context, you could find the eclipse completely terrifying. Think about it. Literally, the sun just disappears. And this eclipse is for a considerably long time for an eclipse. So that's part of the whole issue as well. But really, it comes back to this idea that the light is hidden. It's not just symbolic, it's energetic, and it shows that this moon is in a dominating position, even for a short period. And that has a lot of implications for the psyche, for the consciousness, as the planets come together. And there's a whole lot of other cosmic signatures occurring at that time as well, which I won't go into now. But basically, as far as the eclipse itself goes, there's really nothing to worry about at all. The path of the eclipse, it's best advice not to actually look at it. If it was happening in Australia, I would just be in a more meditative state. I wouldn't be in crowds of people. I wouldn't be looking at it. I would just be, sort of withdrawing for that period. But let's see what comes. I mean, yeah, I really feel that there's a lot of positive things could come from the eclipse, particularly in the long term. It is Aries, so it is going to have a connection to the birthing of the self, the individuality, the concept of I am, the separation from the oneness, if you like, because it is the first sign of the zodiac. So there's many things to consider there, but I just wanted to make this video to really reassure people that eclipses come and go all the time. The other things that they may do, it's a ritual, it's occurring, it's obvious. That's separate to the eclipse. They're using the energy of the eclipse to amplify whatever psyop is coming with that, which is another matter altogether. But speaking to that topic more broadly, is that everything that these clowns do backfires on them. And I really wish people would start to realise that every single operation, plan, agenda that they implement, it's just they fall on their sword deeper and deeper. It just doesn't look like it if you're caught up in the loosh, the fear, the paranoia, the hysteria, the collective psyche. Looking from a more broader perspective, it's just a disaster what they're doing. I mean, they make colossal mistakes every time they do one of these things. And it's an actually reflection that many people are not actually having a deeper trust in the universe, like a faith in God. Like that God's running this show, not these satanic, pathologically unwell sociopaths. You know, they're not running the show. This only ever is taking place because God allows it. And that's really a point of growth for all of us, to return to the acceptance and the surrender to the divine will, which is just lost on so many people in the awakening community. It's going to kind of be like a major path of growth in this paradigm shift. And so I'm excited to see where that goes. But if you're looking at what the globalists are doing and the satanic cabal are doing, you're only looking at one side of the equation, and that side is not even half the equation energetically. It's a small piece of the puzzle as to what's occurring at a galactic level. And if you are not able to have that discernment, you are just putty in their hands, and you are just buying into the fear and the hysteria. And that is a point of growth for all of us. So enjoy the eclipse wherever you are in the world. It's a new moon as well, which is the activation of Sahasrara. It's therefore Shivaratri in the Indian tradition. In Aries, which is great, new beginnings, new ideas, new projects, the enthusiasm, the boundless enthusiasm of the Aries, such great qualities to embody going forward. And good luck, everybody. We live in epic times.